All right, so now we need to actually create a shopping cart table so that we can actually store our shopping cart data. So right-click tables, add new table. Same idea as always. So we'll start by giving it a name, TBL shopping cart. Oops. Camel case. This will be my identity. And now this table is unique because it's just tracking as a many-to-many table, or kind of that tweener table. So what I need here is I need a user ID, and that will be an int. I'll need a product ID, that'll be an int, and then I need quantity, that will also be an int. And those will end up giving me all I need to be able to track items that are added to the cart. So we'll go ahead and I'm going to save this as a SQL file in case you want to replicate the table. App data, DBO TBL shopping cart. I'll update my database. So that is done. We can refresh and see our shopping cart table. So now we need to go through the rest of the mechanics of creating our DTO. Right click, add class, shopping cart. We'll have oh, well, that's fine. Prop int quantity. All right, so we've got those pieces in place and ready. And update our DB context. Final step. So prop DB set shopping cart, and this will be our shopping cart. All right. So we've got our context in place, our database table in place, and our DTO in place. Now, a few things that we can also do with help of the entity framework is that we can actually create a relationship within our DTO to other DTOs. So in this case, we have a relationship with the user objects and the product objects. So we can come in, we can create a property, which is a virtual, and this will be a product, and we'll call it the product. And then we can create another one, which will also be virtual, and it will be a user. We'll call it user. Or actually, we'll call it customer, just to give it a better name. And what's happening here is that we're creating properties of user and product, and these are additional DTOs that we're using within the entity framework. And the virtual keyword has a different meaning in this context. Typically, a virtual is something that is overridable. And that's still the case here, but the entity framework uses it to identify that it can be set up for lazy loading. And all that means is that it will not pull that data from the database until we request it. So it's kind of a feature trigger for the entity framework. But what we can do here is we can decorate these properties with a foreign key attribute. F-O-R-E, foreign, and that comes out of system component model data annotations.schema. And with that, there's a property that we can put in here. Now, in here, what we're looking for is the name of the property in our DTO that acts as the foreign key ID. So the product foreign key for the shopping cart is in the product ID property. And then for the user, the customer, we'll do foreign key user ID. So that'll set up that foreign key relationship. Let's add our additional annotations to this as well. So we need a table. This will be TBL shopping cart. We'll need to put a key here. Not a foreign key, but this will be the primary key, so we have another using statement. Now for the ID and product properties, we need to actually go through and define what those column names are, because we're not matching directly what's in the table. For user ID in the table, it's user underscore ID. In our model, we just did user ID. So there's a column attribute that we can use to identify the property name. So here I'll put user underscore ID, and for this column, product underscore ID. All right, so we've got that in place. So let's go ahead and I'm going to hard code a value into our table just to make sure that everything we've just done works. So let's grab a user. So my ID is 2. So user ID is 2, and then my product. Yeah, we'll do, I like cheese. Let's do 4. I got one of those. So we just hard coded a product in here. So let's go ahead then and save that. And let's quickly implement the index. So the index will need our context with a capital C, and then we will need a list of shopping cart view model, which we'll have to create. Shopping cart items, and inside of here, well, eventually we'll be returning the shopping cart items. So inside of here, we need to go to our context, which needs our using statement. And we'll say context.shoppingcart.where x.userid equals, and we still need to get our user information first, so we'll need to get user information, get user ID from database, get shopping cart items, and then the final step will be to generate shopping cart view model. Alright, so it's always good to kind of think through what you're trying to accomplish. So the string username will come from user.identity.name, and then the user ID will come from context.users where x.username equals the username property that we just, or username variable we just created, and from that I want to select the x.id. I'm going to do a first or default there. So it'll give us back just the user's ID. Do a little bit of formatting here to clean up. So the where does the filter to grab that user, the select grabs their ID, and then first or default filters down to make sure we're only getting back one result, which we should be anyway, but you have to call first or default, otherwise you don't get a value. All right, so we can then come into our shopping cart and we can say where the user ID equals user ID, referencing the property above. And let's see here. We can probably actually do both of these steps together. Okay. And then we can do the toArray again. Dot select new shopping cart. Oh, shopping cart view model. X being our row. Dot toList. And then we'll store that in our shopping cart items. So we'll just kind of do all that work together. So we still need to create our shopping cart view model. So let me jump back into models. We are now working inside the shopping cart controller. So let's add a new folder. And then I'm going to Alt-Shift-C for a new class, and we'll call it shopping cart view model. And this will have ID, user ID, product ID, quantity, and then I'm actually going to add a product view model property, product view model. I'm going to call it product. And I don't know if we have a user view model. I don't remember. We do not. So I will just remove that for now. But what I'd like to do is be able to pass in those additional view models into the shopping cart so that I can just get them all packaged up together nicely. All right, so we have that class now. So we'll bring in our using statement, but we do need a constructor. So we need a blank constructor for the ASP.NET, and then we need a secondary constructor that will take in our shopping cart DTO, and that'll represent our row. Shopping cart. There we go. So then this.id equals row.id, this.userid equals row.userid, this.product.id, product.id, this.quantity equals row.quantity, And then this dot product, which is our view model on the view model side of things, equals a new product view model. And we will then pass in the row product. And then that will then create the new product view model from the product DTO and put that into our property. So it's nice how that all kind of fits together that way. So this is product ID. All right, so that's the mechanics there. I know that was kind of fast, but that's honestly more the pace that I typically work in. So getting all of that set up and in place, we can now go ahead and test. All right, so now we can go /product. We can choose, oh, we don't have this part set up, so we'll just go straight to the shopping cart because we hard coded a value. And in a perfect world, oh, we didn't create an index. So this is not a perfect world. So we will then right click, do add view. And this will be a list. And it will be a shopping cart view model, and we'll hit add. And we'll just go with the stock one for now. Actually, let's go a little better than stock. So we'll call this product. We can get rid of that. And from here, we'll do product.name. And we can do that in bold. Underneath it, we can do HTML display for item. Item.product. Description. And then let's bring that back. This can be unit price. This will be product.unit price. And we will need the edit or details, but we will need the delete it when we're all done. All right, so let's go ahead and try that again. So we should be able just to come back and refresh since we just did the view and no changes to the controller. And there is our cheese, which is wholly, the unit price of 225 and the quantity of 1. And then we can do some additional logic here to calculate list item or row price. So if there's multiple items, and then we can implement the delete at a later time. So we've got a good starting point. Things seem to be working. We can, instead of saying create new here, we can say keep shopping. And that'll take us back to index off of product. So keep shopping.